There we are. Okay, I'd like to call to order the Board of Directors meeting for Community Transit for Thursday, November the 2nd, 2023. The Board of Directors meeting is conducted in a hybrid format, both in person and remote, and is recorded and live streamed. Today's board meeting has 3 opportunities for public comment. First, a public hearing for comments related to the Journey 2050 long-range plan. Second, a public hearing on the 2024 proposed budget. Then the board will take general public comments. Rachel, will you please call the roll?
All right, Councilmember Daughtry.
Present.
Thank you. Mayor Frizzell.
Present.
Thank you. Mayor Marine.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Mead. Councilmember Merrill.
Here, thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Nearing.
Here.
Thank you. Labor Representative Norton.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Peterson. Mayor Roberts.
Here.
Thank you. And Councilmember Schweddy.
Present.
Thank you. Chair, we do have a quorum of board members. For our board alternates, we have Councilmember Payne in attendance, as well as Councilmember Gallagher, as well as Mayor Wright. Is there anyone I missed? Okay, Chair, that concludes roll.
Okay, thank you. First on the agenda is the public hearing for the long-range plan for the Journey 2050, and the long-range plan is now open. Comments received, we received 109 comments. To date, these comments will be packaged and provided to the board prior to the December board meeting. Verbal comments, each speaker has 3 minutes to provide comments. In room, the chair calls on the signed up to speak at the podium, and then remotely when your name is called. Right now, we don't have any. Do we have anyone in the audience who wants to speak? Okay, anyone online? Okay, I'm not hearing any comment whatsoever. So the public hearing is now closed. So our public hearing for the 2024 proposed budget is now open. No comments have been received to date. Any comments received will be packaged and provided to the board prior to the December board meeting. Each speaker again has 3 minutes to provide comments. Is there anyone in room who would like to comment on the budget? Okay, what about on Zoom? Okay, the public hearing is now closed. Whoa, that was pretty quick. So we're now down to public comments. These are verbal comments. Each speaker has 3 minutes to speak about something that's on the agenda. Is there anyone who would like to make a public comment? Anyone on Zoom? Okay. So then we go down to our first item is the CEO report. Rick, you are on. Oh, I'm sorry. Where am I lost? Oh, right here on this sheet.
Presentations. So we have a couple of staff recognitions today that I'll start with, if that's okay. 2 employees today, and so I'll start by asking Rich Link to join me up at the podium. And sorry, there he is. We live in a digital world and I have too much paper and I almost don't know what to. How's that? Can you hear me now?
Totally lost my agenda.
All right. Well, we are here to celebrate Rich Link. who is a supervisor in our transportation department, and he is celebrating 20 years at Community Transit. Congratulations, Rich Lake. I've had a great pleasure getting to know Rich in my time here. He's been a tremendous partner as an active member and leader within our supervisors bargaining unit. He started at Community Transit as a dispatcher and moved into transportation, into supervision. He's been leading on our scheduling supervision and overseeing and helping facilitate service bids for coach operators a couple times every year. And that's one of the favorite parts of his job. It's where our coach operators come in at regular intervals and bid on the work and get scheduled and learn what their shifts are going to be for the upcoming service period. So Rich has a huge role to play in that. And it's a great role for him because he's a very social guy and he likes to interact with and talk with his coworkers and meet all the coach operators. It's not always easy to meet and see all our coach operators because they're always busy out on the road, but it's a perch that gives him the ability to do that, and he appreciates that a lot. I'm told he's an animal lover. There's a very famous episode where he once witnessed some baby ducks fall down a drain over at Merrill Creek. I think it was Merrill Creek. Was it Linwood Transit Center? And he went over and removed the grate from the drain and extracted the baby ducks and reunited them with their mother. And as a proud graduate of the University of Oregon, I really appreciate that. Yes. So anyway, he's got a long record of accolades and customer commendations and awards for recognition of the contributions he's made to the organization, and it's been fun working with him, and I'm really happy to congratulate you on 20 years, Rich. All right. We have some hardwood. Here we go. And a 20-year pin. So, thank you. Thanks, Martin. Thank you. You're very welcome. Next up, we have Kelly Eddy. Kelly, come on up. Good to see you. Kelly is also celebrating 20 years of service at Community Transit. And she is I'm told, indispensable part of our supervisor team. She's covered a lot of the jobs over there in the supervisor group and started as a coach operator 20 years ago. She's known for her love of driving, which led her to this line of work. She's also worked as a report operator. She's worked as on assigned routes. She's worked just about every type of service you can drive at Community Transit. She moved into dispatch after that and really enjoyed the behind the scenes role, helping operators at the walk-up window and out on the road. That is a vital link for our coach operators to be able to call back into dispatch and get support for whatever conditions or circumstances they may be experiencing out in the field. And Kelly has been one of the people who's provided that support. She's known for her strong work ethic, her excellent customer service, and her professionalism, and over the years has received numerous commendations. Her new adventure in supervision will be as an employee performance supervisor, where she'll be mentoring new coach operators as they graduate from the Coach Operator Training Academy and move into service. And that's a very vital role because we need to support our coach operator trainees and new coach operators in every step of the process to help make sure that they're successful. And that's part of the investment we make to make sure that happens. So, and she gets to share an office with Rich. So, you know, when you get to the office part of the career, that's pretty good. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Kelly. Congratulations. Proud of your work. And likewise, we start from the wall of that office. 20 years and a pin. Congratulations. Thanks, Kelly. Thanks for coming over today.
Kelly, do you train on duckling rescues at all, or that's a new thing? Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That concludes my presentations.
Okay, the next presentation is our SWIFT program update. Christopher.
All right, good afternoon. So, you guys can hear me? Okay, great. Um, just to remind you, my name is Christopher Silvera. I am the manager of the SWIFT BRT program. Happy to be here today. And today I'm going to share with you guys an update on our SWIFT program, which involves a lot of different work and a lot of different items going on. We have the orange line that's currently under construction, clearly. We have the SWIFT station retrofits that are going to be underway next year, and the SWIFT Blue Line extension and expansion, as we call it. It involves more than just the extension. I'll go over the SWIFT Green Line station siding study as the precursor to that extension, and the SWIFT Gold Line and where we are with the scoping study that's kicking that project off. Turn it on would help. Okay, there you go. So with the SWIFT Orange Line, this is our map of the corridor. See a lot of red circles on the left or the west side of the corridor. That's to communicate those areas where we have the station kits installed. Those are well underway in the sense that we're getting ready to start installing the amenities at those stations, including the IT equipment and whatnot. So they'll be starting to look like finished products in the next month or two. On the east side of the corridor, we have some green circles there, meaning we're still working on the sites themselves before we can get the station kits installed. So a little bit of work still to go there, but we're feeling really good and confident about being able to open up our service in March. I have a couple of pictures from the corridor to share with you guys. So if you haven't been out there recently, you can get a glimpse of where we are with things. So starting with Edmonds College Transit Center, it's looking like a transit center. It's the very close to a finished product at this point. You go out there today, it looks nothing like it did when we first got there. As we've done a lot of construction there, as you can see, we got the local shelters in, we've got the SWIFT station in. All that's really left is doing the finishing touches on the operator restroom that's being installed, and then getting the amenity kits, the IT equipment, and wayfinding signage, and then it will be pretty much good to go. At 196 and SR 99, this is where in that bottom right photo, we have the station that we recently opened up in the summer for the northbound Blue Line station. We also have the other station kits together for the Orange Line itself, and we've been continuing to work on the speed and reliability improvements that are going in that intersection, building some new lanes to help get our buses get through those intersections easily. At Swamp Creek and Ash Way, been continuing to make good progress at both of these sites. Actually, since I took these photos just under a month ago, the station kit on that top left picture, there's a platform there, no kit there. The kit's already been installed, so continuing to make progress throughout this corridor, and Ash Way making good progress on getting the new lanes added in the north and southbound directions along that corridor. Then at McCollum Park, this again about a month ago, looks quite a bit different than it does today. If you go out there today, we've been continuing to get the pavement for the roadway panels in place and are nearing completion on that effort. So I've been really happy with the progress we've made over the past month. This site is starting to come together and look like a transit center. It'll be the last site to be worked on as, or at least major site to be worked on as part of the project. So it's obvious that it's not at the same place as Edmonds College, and that's not expected. So still feeling really good about where we are overall with this project. And just a quick view of the timeline with the project itself. We're in that fourth quarter of 2023. We're 5 months away from the launch of the service. We're anticipating to start our testing and training. Right now it shows the end of Q4. That might be the beginning of Q1, but ultimately very comfortable about getting our testing and training done and being in a position to launch our service in March. That still gives us a fairly good window of being in place, having the service in place ahead of the Link Light Rail extension that's coming in the end of August 2024. So moving on to the Swift retrofits in the Blue Line expansion, we are in the process of preparing ourselves for construction of the Blue Line extension. We're planning to go to add at the end of the year, and giving us the opportunity to start construction in the spring of next year. That will get us in, have us in line to start the service up when Link Light Rail opens up. So that extension, just as a quick reminder, goes from Aurora Village Transit Center, where we end the southern terminus today. That will be extended over to the Shoreline North 185th station. So it's about 2-ish miles away, building 2 stations at that location at the Link Light Rail station on the top of the deck there. And we'll also be doing some speed and reliability improvements, and also as part of the Blue Line expansion, but also overall for our network as a whole, we're retrofitting all of our Blue and Green Line stations to get the wayfinding improvements in that we're including in the Orange Line. So those new Next Bus LEDs that you can see in this bottom right photo that we have at that new 196 station, we're including those at all of our Blue and Green Line stations, so that we'll have better information for all our customers. It'll be the same type of information for all customers, so that way there's not this confusion over, oh, I have this information available at this station, but not at that station. We'll have cohesion across our systems so that people are getting the same experience regardless of where they're entering Swift, where they're exiting Swift, and when ultimately, as I think talked with you guys last month, on board Swift as well. So. And with the Swift Green Line extension, so for some context here, we started this project earlier this year to integrate with the Bothell Way widening project. So the city of Bothell has their own raise grant that they received from the federal government to widen and improve Bothell Way, Bothell Everett Highway, the southern portion of that. That will also include some pedestrian and bicycle improvements that go along with it. So to make the best use of both of our agencies' time, effort, and dollars, we wanted to get ahead of their effort and ultimately integrate our station plans along with their widening plans. So that way, we're doing one environmental review process, one design process, as opposed to trying to come in after the fact, rip up some new improvements, and install our stations afterwards. So we're tied to their timeline to get this extension completed. So there's some dependencies that go along with that, but that's just the nature of partnership. We're also partnering with Sound Transit and downtown and in UW Bothell. So we're planning on sharing the stations on Northeast 185th Street at 104th Avenue and on Beardsley at UW Bothell with Sound Transit. So they'll be using their stations for their new Stride S3 service. We're working with them on the wayfinding to make sure that it's very clear that this is serving both Swift and Stride services. But that's another partnership that we're working on as part of the Green Line extension. And again, another dependency in terms of timelines. We want to make sure that we're matching up well with both the City of Bothell's project and the Sound Transit project. So what we have at this stage is we started a public engagement effort to propose or share our proposed stations for the Bothell Way corridor. So that corridor that we're trying to match plans with City of Bothell on. What we propose is 228th Street, 240th Street, and Reeder Way. Those would be the year one build options that we would want to include into their project. And also we have a future infill project that could be included at Northeast 201st Place. And by that, I mean, it's not something that we don't think we would build as part of year one construction, but we feel like there's enough development potential. There's appropriate spacing there that we could build a station there in the future once development has arrived that's appropriate with that path or with that site. So once, there's the population and employment density to really warrant building a station there, we would go ahead and construct it, but it's probably not year one. The other thing I should mention about the Green Line extension is that we are working on a terminus study. Not only do we have just the straight up extension of the Green Line, we also have to figure out where the Green Line is going to turn around, as well as the local services in this corridor where they're going to turn around. Currently, they use a small transit center in UW-Bothell Cascadia College campus. That college, the campuses are going to expand over that footprint in the future. So we're going to have to shift the location of that terminus. We're in the process of working in collaboration with the colleges, with the city of Bothell and with King County Metro to determine where we're going to shift this transit center location so that way we can turn around and lay over our buses and ultimately figure out where that end of the line for the Green Line is going to be. That may just be an operational facility, not something that the customers necessarily use. So it's still in flux. It's ongoing, and we should have results by the end of the year for you guys to with some suggestions on or recommendations on where that future facility will be. And on the Swift Gold Line, we've been working on this scoping study for a year and some change at this point, year and a third or so. We are at the stage where we've identified a preferred alignment in Everett. So if you look at the southern portion of this corridor, we are taking a loop around downtown Everett that includes Pacific going north on Hoyt and then going back east on Everett Avenue before turning north on Broadway. And that will give us more access points to and from downtown Everett. So that way we can get people closer to their destinations or origins in a very dense area of our overall network. As you continue up Broadway and into State Avenue, we run into three other alternatives. We're looking at option A, continuing up State Avenue up to Smoky Point Boulevard and turning east on 136th Street. Option B, taking State Avenue, then going off on Schultes Road and then north on 51st Avenue. And then option C, turning from State Avenue onto Grove Street and then turning north on 51st Avenue. So all of these alternatives end up at 51st Avenue and 136th, but continuing north on 51st Avenue before getting to 172nd and turning west. From there, we have two alternative paths that we've identified in Arlington. One of those that we consider is likely a year one option would be taking 172nd to Smoky Point Transit Center, but we want to build with the intention to not preclude the opportunity to go north to the Airport Boulevard corridor and then come south on Smoky Point Boulevard. We know that the city of Arlington has strong plans for high levels of density, center of excellence, and we want to support those developments as they arrive. And ultimately, we're here in 2023. If those developments move at a faster pace, then we could incorporate that and not even have to go with a year one path to start with and just include that into the initial path of the corridor. We just want to make sure that we're building with the intention of places as they are today and then designing for the future in the meantime. As far as where we are with the scoping study itself beyond the alignments, we're looking at getting the ridership forecast at this point to help us determine where we are from a funding perspective. So funding has different components associated with it. We need to obviously know what the capital cost of the project is likely to be or an order of magnitude of that. But we also need to understand how competitive are we to likely be for capital investment grant funding. That's the main source of funds that we've used on the Green Line and the Orange Line. It's about half of the cost for both of those projects was from CIG funding sources from the federal government. Ridership is a key component of that. So now that we have travel times mostly in place, we'll be able to start working on ridership forecasting that will give us that key component to understanding how competitive are we likely to be for federal funding. And I don't have that information yet, but I will definitely update you guys when we get that. On stations for the Gold Line, we have identified potential locations. So these are at the intersection level. So we haven't gone through with a fine-tooth comb to assess, is it going to be this specific area section within that intersection? We're still at the scoping study stage, so we haven't gone to preliminary design where we would get into that level, that degree of investigation. So they're still subject to change, but this is what we're planning on. We have stations that are spaced about 1/3 of a mile apart, which is closer than usual, but that's with the intent of providing more access into the system than we have in the past, which would help with our ridership forecasts and ultimately make us more likely to be competitive for federal funding. We also want to make sure that we're keeping those close connections with our longer term network, making sure that folks are able to get through Everett and Marysville, and as well as to connect to our other services, so our express services, our zip services, other options, our local bus options to get around these communities as well. And just as I showed the stations in the south, here's stations in the north. Again, we're about 1/3 of a mile in the downtown Marysville area, and then we kick out once we get up north of I think that's 80th Street. Once we get north of there, we start to see larger spacing in stations. That's just to reflect the type of densities that we're seeing in those areas. So on 51st Avenue, it's generally about every half mile or so. And that's all the way up until 172nd. And then when we're looking at that path 2 for Arlington, we're getting closer to like about every 1/3 of a mile as opposed to half mile, reflecting again those densities that we're expecting in the future there. And a key component with the Gold Line that makes it unique from our previous blue, green line, and orange lines is that we're looking at dedicated lanes. So I know I've shared this information with you guys before, but want to relay that we've completed the intersection analysis on these corridors. So we're looking at Broadway and State Avenue. And all said and done with the intersections, things have looked pretty positive. We've also this says to conduct workshops with agency partners. We actually conducted these last week. So SACDC, the board pulled over, but I'd say those workshops were positive as well. We talked with our agency partners in both cities. Folks were it was a really good working environment to work with both agencies. And that said, we still have some refinement to do coming out of those workshops, and more to come on this. So I don't have a definitive yes or no on where we're landing with the projects, but I feel good about where we're at right now with both the city of Marysville and with the city of Everett on these items. So I'm optimistic at the very least, but more to come as I learn more. And then with the LPA and approval process, we are, at this point where we're still engaging with our jurisdictions, as I just mentioned, with those workshops to continue to develop and review the alternatives and get to a final recommendation in the future. I'm planning to hopefully provide you guys with an update at the beginning of next year as we get towards the finality of the scoping study. And then hopefully in the spring be able to come to you guys with a recommendation for action on a locally preferred alternative, and that LPA will set us up for moving forward into preliminary design, the project development process with the federal government, and hopefully feeling really good about our path forward on this project. So with that said, happy to take any questions, and thanks for your time.
Does anyone have any questions? You've probably already asked all yours, John.
Yeah.
Anyone down there? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate all your work.
Yep, thanks.
Okay, sorry about that. Our next item is now the CEO report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon again, members of the board. Okay, lots going on. It's been a very busy October, and we've been heavily engaged with our partners across the region Just a few things to flag. We had a regional mobility partnership meeting with the transit partners in the Puget Sound region. And we've been coordinating our efforts on fare evaluation and fare study with the Orca partners and trying to plan for the future in that regard. We had another SCIT meeting where we got into talking about updating the Snohomish County priority projects list and had some good discussion around that, and that process is underway now. And of course, another WISTA meeting. We've had several meetings at the staff level with our partners at Sound Transit and King County Metro regarding our ongoing preparations and I would say concerns about integrating the bus networks in the I-5 corridor north with the light rail network that's planned to start up next fall. Those conversations are productive and ongoing, and I'll keep you posted as we make progress. Our concerns are driven by, as you know, the capacity of the rail system initially and the coming implementation of rehabilitation project in the I-5 corridor that WashDOT is going to be starting on in 2025. So there's a lot to coordinate between all the respective agencies in the corridor, and that's going to take up a lot of our time and attention as we're managing shifts in our network next year and beyond. We have a meeting of the Everett Transit and Community Transit Joint Policy Committee overseeing the CTET consolidation study on November 6th. We have had some staff meetings to prepare for that and also met jointly for the first time with the two locals, ATU locals representing each agency. That was a constructive meeting, and we agreed, all parties agreed to continue meeting jointly as we go forward and coordinating our efforts. So that was a good step in that regard. Happy to report that FTA Region 10 has a new administrator. They've appointed Susan Fletcher as the regional administrator. Susan has been a long time professional presence in the region, starting initially as the chief engineer in Region 10 and ultimately working up to deputy regional administrator and now administrator. So I reached out to her to congratulate her and have a meeting next week to sit down and coordinate on a variety of topics encompassing the whole of our federal partnership. So I'm excited about that. Also next week is the fourth quarter WISTA, Washington State Transit Association board meeting up in Skagit County. So I'm looking forward to going up there and coordinating and sharing information with our industry colleagues around the state. It is legislative season, getting ready for the next session of the legislature, and you'll note that our draft proposed 2024 legislative agenda is in your packet for review. It's a short session this year. So we're not initiating any new requests. The proposed agenda you'll see has areas of focus that include safety and security, advancement of our zero emission program. Thank you, Mayor Marine. Service expansion, SWIFT funding, and so on. If you have any feedback or any comments or questions on that, please don't hesitate to pass them along to myself or Deb. You just received the SWIFT program update, so I won't go into that. I will flag, however, for you that we have settled on an opening date for the SWIFT Orange Line, and that is Saturday, March 30th of 2024. So please mark your calendars. That is the Saturday before Easter. That is the day of the regional service change for all of the transit agencies. We are excited about that, looking forward to it, and are expecting a lot of interest from our state and federal partners at attending the actual ribbon cutting. And you'll recall 2 years ago the turnout we had when we broke ground. So we're excited to complete the story with our partners. Facilities master plan continues. I want to thank Councilmember Merrill for mentioning last week at the workshop his attendance at the dedication of the training facility across the street. We're in the process of moving the training folks over there and getting that facility active. Just this afternoon, 4 board members Daughtry and Chair Schweddy and Councilmember Merrill and Mayor Roberts joined us for a walking tour of the new transportation headquarters over at Merrill Creek. That building is done and our IT folks are now in there getting it ready for folks to move in. We've got a few punch list things left to do. We're looking at January for an open house to celebrate and dedicate that new building and move everybody in. Appreciate the work of the staff and all of our partners and the board in helping advance our long-range plan and our proposed budget and the hearings today. We did get a robust amount of feedback through the public comment process on the long-range plan, even though we didn't have any public comments today. So you'll see those in your next packet. The bus cleaning contract has been awarded and executed, and we're busy with our contractor and our vehicle maintenance staff, coordinating with the public health experts here in Snohomish County to dial in our cleaning protocols for the buses. All of our filters on our entire fleet have been replaced. And so we're making good progress there. We had a great workshop last week. I want to thank the board again for its engagement and oversight of the budget process. Any public comments we receive between now and the Finance Committee meeting November 16th will be forwarded to you. Quick touch on employee wellness. We have an engagement. We have a fall luncheon, appreciation luncheon at November 15th over at the Body Shop at Merrill Creek. And Rachel sent out invitations to all of you for that. If you have the opportunity to come, that's a great event. And I know the employees would love to see you. We were talking about it during the tour today, and Deb shared that there's actually a night shift to serve food to the folks who work overnight. And so there's an opportunity to show up at night if you can't fit it into your daytime schedule. So anyway, keep that in mind. It's a fun event. Quick touch on Atlas, our wellness contractor. They've been super active on site, engaging our employees. And I got to meet with them a couple weeks ago and get a report on the number of folks using their services. And I'm happy to report that 65% of our workforce has engaged the services of Atlas, supporting their health and wellness. So that is terrific news. It's giving season. We just completed our annual giving campaign, and community transit employees pooled resources to raise over $15,000 for United Way of Snohomish County. So I want to thank United Way for partnering with us, and I want to thank the employees who worked on that, led by Molly Marsacek and our customer experience group. It was a great turnout. On recruitment, and I'll wrap it up because I think I've reached my 3 minutes. Coach operator staffing is currently at 371. We have 74 coach operators in the pipeline and in the training process. Our goal for opening Orange Line in March is 381. So we are well on track. And we're well on track for September as well. We've welcomed 14 journey mechanics this year, and we have 2 more expected to start before the end of the year. Our transit security unit is now at 15 of the 18 funded positions, and we're looking forward to completing staffing of that unit here by the end of the year. That, Madam Chair, concludes my report. Thank you.
I have a question. So on the bus remediation services, this has been a really big deal for everybody, and especially our riders. So are we planning on doing any kind of PSAs or, anything to get out to get this kind of information about what we're doing on the buses to our ridership?
That's a great question. And I'll take that under advisement and work with you and the board members and our communications team to come up with a satisfactory answer. We want our customers to know we're doing everything we can to keep them safe. We also want to make sure that we have clarity of understanding around what the issue is that we're trying to address. And we're partnering right now with the public health district to align our cleaning protocol with that problem so we can present a solution. So and just by way of review, there's 2 pieces to it. There's the air filtration piece, which is done. And then there's the surface cleaning piece, which is underway.
I want to say thank you for asking that, Kim, with the article on King County Metro, the negative one. We need to make sure our employees know that we're doing, besides us telling everybody we know, we need to get that information out there so they know that we're not like them. So we're down to, sorry.
I will say that we're coordinating closely with our colleagues and our neighboring agencies and sharing information week in and week out.
Okay, next item are the committee reports. The first one is mine, the executive committee report. We met on October 19th. Councilmember Merrill, Mayor Marine, Mayor Roberts, and I attended. The CEO provided his report. The committee was briefed on the upcoming board composition review and selection meeting. This meeting is scheduled for January 18, 2024 at 3 p.m. and the January board workshop will be canceled. At this meeting, board composition will be determined for the next 4 years and board members will be selected for a 2-year term. Invitations to participate will be sent to each city in our service area and the county in mid-November. An executive session was held on the performance of a public employee. The next committee meeting is scheduled for November the 16th at 11:30. So our next person is Finance Performance.
Thank you, Chair. The Finance Performance and Oversight Committee met on Thursday, October 19th, 2023 in a Zoom format. Board members, Mayor Christine Frizzell, Mayor John Naring, and I attended. Consent items, approval of September 2023 monthly expenditures and payroll vouchers will be items 9B through G on the consent agenda. Action items, committee reviewed and recommended one item for the board's consideration, which is RFP 2023-01, the contracted bus service, which we will hear about. Reports, sales tax report for September 2023 unaudited. In September 2023, Community Transit collected approximately $17.1 million in sales tax revenue, approximately $923,000 less than was budgeted. A copy of this report is included in your packet. Number 2, diesel fuel update report for September 2023. The average cost year to date through September 2023 was $3.68 per gallon, while the average cost per gallon budgeted for 2023 was $4.25. This resulted in a favorable variance of 57 cents per gallon year to date through September. And then lastly, we had a briefing on a proposed 2024 budget. Mary Albert, budget manager, presented to the committee the proposed 2024 budget. The next Finance Performance and Oversight Committee meeting is scheduled for 2 p.m. Thursday, November 16th, 2023 via Zoom. And that concludes my report, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Strategic Alignment and Capital.
Yes, the Strategic Alignment and Capital Development Committee meeting was held remotely over Zoom on October 18th at 2 p.m. The meeting was attended by Councilmember Daughtry, Labor Representative Norton, Councilmember Peterson, and me. The committee received an informational presentation regarding the SWIFT program update that was just presented by Mr. Silvera. Thank you. And the committee also received program updates from the Zero Admission Program by Mr. Heim and the Sound Transit update by Melissa and Rick. The next meeting for the Strategic Alignment and Capital Development Committee is scheduled for Wednesday, November 15th at 2 p.m. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sorry, I forgot to ask, did anyone have any questions of Rick on his report? Kim did, but that was it. I didn't look this way, sorry. We have our consent items. Do I have someone to make a motion, please?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I have a quick question. Did we need to pass the Journey thing proposed budget?
That'll be next month.
Oh, that's next month. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're down to the action items, which is the contracted bus service. Roland Behe, you're on board.
All right, thank you. Are we on here?
Okay.
Very good. Before I get started, I just want to note that this is a big contract, one of the biggest ones that we do, and it's had extensive staff involvement across the agency. So as I start here, I wanted to acknowledge Jim Williams and his team in transportation, particularly Margaret Keckler and the contracted services team that really led the effort here in strong partnership with Kunjan Dayal, who's our procurement contracts manager. So thanks everybody for your effort in bringing this one to the finish line. Let's see. So as I start to just talk about the contract, I felt helpful to give some context just in terms of what is contracted service at Community Transit on the bus side. So as a reminder to the board, Community Transit privately contracts most of our 400 series commuter bus routes, which travel from Snohomish County to downtown Seattle during weekday peak period commute, as well as all of our Sound Transit 500 series ST Express routes. And what that contract looks like is it's an operations component, which is the piece that we're talking about today. It's a turnkey transit service contract that covers the staffing, the operations, the maintenance, the supervision, insurance, really all the pieces that are required to field this service on a daily basis. Community Transit then provides the actual facility. So this all happens at our Cache Park operating base, which is just across the street from where we are here in the Cascade building. And then Community Transit and Sound Transit provide the rolling stock. So the actual buses, and most of these buses, as you can see in the little picture on the slide, are the double-decker buses, which are really the iconic vehicles that comprise most of this commuter service between Snohomish and King County. The other really important piece to note, as you see in the final bullet there, is that because this is a shared service with Sound Transit, Community Transit holds the contract with the provider, but we also have an operating agreement whereby Sound Transit contracts with Community Transit to provide this bus service. So there is a share there, and Sound Transit reimburses Community Transit for their share of this contract. In terms of the scope, from a scale perspective, the pie chart represents all of the bus service that Community Transit provides. And the piece that we're talking about with this contract represents just about 25% of that entire bus portfolio, the remainder of it being the directly operated piece that we operate out of our Merrill Creek base. And so within that 25% slice that is comprised in this contract we're talking about today, it is split approximately 1/3 to the Community Transit branded service, those 400 series routes, and about 2/3 toward the ST Express service for Sound Transit. And to give you a sense of scale, on an annual basis, the first year of this new agreement, we're expecting that overall 25% slice of service is going to cost close to $26 million. And the split of that between the agencies would be about $17 million for Sound Transit and about $9 million for Community Transit. So rough numbers in terms of scale of what we're talking about with this agreement. And so some key features of the RFP scope. The current contract that we're under today is expiring at the end of December this year. We are proposing to maintain the turnkey operation that has traditionally been scoped in this agreement. In this current edition, we're looking at a 3-year base term and then an option for an additional 3 years beyond that. The submission required submitting for service level options with the proposals, and we'll talk in a moment about the different service levels that we asked for. And just to note that as I talk about in a moment here, we're beginning to enter a period of complexity in terms of bus service in this space as Sound Transit implements Link Light Rail. This contract will span that transition period from current state to the new network. These pictures may look familiar. The board saw this in the presentation that Chris Simmons brought back in April as the board approved our 2024 and beyond network. And just as a reminder, what we're talking about in this service is on the left, the map shows Community Transit's current commuter service. And just to note, the pictures I'm showing here don't encompass the Sound Transit side, but this gives you a sense of for the Community Transit branded services, what's included in scope. And so you can see we're talking about the services that begin generally at park and rides and transit centers in Snohomish County, travel the freeway corridors to big employment destinations in Seattle, either Northgate or downtown Seattle. On the right, you can see the future condition, which is that we will be restructuring that service to be primarily within the boundaries of Snohomish County and to feed people to the light rail at either Linwood Transit Center or Mount Lake Terrace. And then you can see the light rail service then is combined of, it's a combination of what Sound Transit is calling the 1 line and the 2 line for a combined 4-minute headway at Linwood City Center Station. And so that'll be important for what we talk about next in terms of some of the complexities of how this will be implemented over the next 12 to 18 months. So in the RFP, we requested 4 different service levels from each of the proposers. And walking through these in sequence, we asked them to propose on the current service model. So really what's operating out there right now every day. And so that's the pre-link period. We also asked them to propose on what we just looked at in terms of that 2024 and beyond network structure for community transit, and then also what we think Sound Transit's future ST Express network will look like. Sound Transit won't approve that network design until early next year, but we have a conceptual understanding of what it's likely to look like. So that's the post-link period. So in addition to those 2 fundamental baseline levels of service, we also had 2 additional options. One is for what we call OWL service or overnight service. And so Sound Transit is considering this in their future network design. Light rail will operate around 20 hours per day and will be down for 4 hours each night during the overnight periods for maintenance. And so given that reality, Sound Transit is interested in an option to provide service during those overnight hours, approximately hourly between Everett and downtown Seattle, to provide a minimum level of connectivity for folks that still need to travel when rail is not operating. The 4th option is for an I-5 shuttle service. And this is part of the conversation that we've been keeping the board apprised of the mitigation options for should Sound Transit implement the initial wave of light rail at a lower level of service than is adequate to handle demand in the corridor. They are asking us, and we're looking to provide options through this contract that would allow them to supplement that with a shuttle in the I-5 corridor. And so really that's the 4th option here, should it be needed next year as light rail rolls out. So the overall goal here, there's a level of complexity that we have not had in this contract previously, but really what it's driving at is we're looking for flexibility to meet customer demands next year as we roll out light rail in what right now is an uncertain operating environment. So this gives us the options we think we need to provide whatever is needed in that corridor. This slide provides some of the timing and shows how each of these 4 service levels conceptually could slot into that timing as events unfold over the next year to year and a half. So the contract we're talking about start on January 1st of next year, 2024. And during that initial 9 months of the contract, it would really look like it does today. This would be current state Sound Transit and community transit routes looking much like they do right now. Beginning in September, or really the last days of August, is right now that's projected for Sound Transit's launch of the Link 1 line. It would be the regional service change date and would be the point at which we pivot from current service to that new 2024 and beyond network that the board has authorized. Likewise, Sound Transit would reorganize their ST Express services. And so that's the 2nd service level that's identified in this contract. Along with that, this would be the period of time that Sound Transit could also opt to provide the overnight OWL service, which would be an ongoing endeavor to provide for that gap in daily light rail service for maintenance. And then should it be called for, depending on the level of rail service that is available with the launch of that first 1 line service, should it be called for, then the I-5 shuttle option would also operate during this period. Also notable is within a few months of that initial light rail launch, WashDOT's current schedule for the Revive I-5 project, which would rebuild I-5 between Northgate and downtown Seattle over a number of years. We could see the first impacts of that beginning in the first quarter of 2025. So important to note the impact of that on the efficiency of travel and traffic and buses as well in the I-5 corridor. And then beginning right now, the launch for Sound Transit's second line of light rail, the 2 line, is somewhat uncertain and undefined, but some of the numbers we're looking at from Sound Transit indicate it could be as early as September of 2025. So we're really just showing this conceptually in this graphic, but you can see that the I-5 shuttle option, should it be called for, would likely be operating for that interim period where we have 1 line service but not 2 line service. So having described the basic structure of the contract we're talking about and the different features in terms of service levels, just a few words about the process that we ran. We issued the RFP in April of this year. We did receive 3 proposals, so we had good competition in this process. Keolis, MV, and First Transit, who was the incumbent. We received those proposals in June. We evaluated on capability and capacity, price, qualifications. We did narrow the field to 2 finalists, MV and First Transit. We conducted a rigorous round of interviews, questions. We received refined pricing from both of the finalists. We then narrowed it to 1 finalist, First Transit, went through another round of questions and best and final offer. And so we are proposing to move forward with First Transit. The sum of all 4 service levels, which was one of the ways in which we evaluated the contracts against the other, would be $366 million. So that's the figure you will see in the recommendation. The reality is that it is unlikely that we would see the full suite of all 4 service levels over the entire period of this contract. It would be selective based on what's required in any given service period in the corridor. And just to give a sense of scale, it's likely with the first service level and the second service level that you would see an expenditure in the range of perhaps $170 to $180 million over that 6-year period. A reminder that Community Transit's piece of that is about 1/3, or around $60 million. And when you look at a 6-year agreement, that's about a $10 million annual spend. So just in terms of lending a sense of scale at that more granular annual level, important to share that. The cost has been evaluated as fair and reasonable within 12% of the independent government cost estimate. So the recommendation of the team is that the board of directors authorize the chief executive officer to finalize negotiations and award contract 2023-021 for contracted bus services to First Transit Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $366 million over the initial 3-year contract period and 1 3-year renewal option. And just to note that we reviewed this with the finance committee earlier, and they recommended it to the board today. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, and Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, Roland, I mean, the OWL service it's intriguing. Do we have a knowledge of how well it would be used? Are there people asking specifically for that type of service, or how did we get there, right, on doing that?
Yeah, I guess I can say in general terms, I would defer any detailed answer to that question to Sound Transit, and that this is a feature that they have requested. What I would say is that OWL service is a relatively commonly used tool in the industry. There is some history of providing it. I know King County Metro has traditionally provided some level of OWL service in their system at times as well. Not specifically in the I-5 corridor, but to provide that overnight minimum lifeline level of service for customers. So it's not an unusual practice, and particularly with rail services where there is a required downtime every day for maintenance.
Well, plus, the buses are going to be not catching traffic, right? I mean, presumably it'll be a clear route for them in the middle of the night. But just curious if there were people asking for it and would ride it, would hate to. Well, I guess it's up to Sound Transit, but they put it in and drive around with two people sleep in the back or something.
I could add to Roland's answer. Sound Transit engages in service planning, also its own independent service planning process, which is a public facing process, and they take public input. And we know anecdotally that they have received some input expressing interest in this type of service. So that's kind of what drove them adding this to the scope of the procurement.
Okay, and yeah, Tom.
Yeah, if I understood this, it looked to me like that there's going to be various possible levels of service built into this. And what wasn't clear to me is it would seem to me that given the varying levels, someone is going to have to carry a certain amount of redundancy in terms of staffing and rolling stock. And I was wondering who's going to have to provide that? Is it community transit or First Transit or?
Well, the service levels that have been defined in the proposal right now are within the scope of the existing rolling stock that the agencies have on hand. And I would say that we are going to be looking closely as Sound Transit does their final service planning process and brings their final service plan to their board next year, early in the year, to confirm that we're on track in terms of staffing levels that would need to be on hand to provide the different service levels that they eventually confirm. But right now there's a level of confidence in terms of the staffing that the contractor currently has on hand, the fleet that's currently available. So we're not feeling that we're likely to be coming up significantly short on any combination of service that's currently contemplated.
Okay, that takes care of overuse, but if the amount of service that needs to be provided is much less than the outside of it, someone then is going to may possibly be overstaffed or be carrying a larger inventory. Who would be carrying that?
Well, I guess I would say that we will only pay for the service that is consumed. So that's one way of answering the question. And right now, I think that we're comfortable in terms of the service level that we're proposing in the contract is really it's the same service plan that the board approved earlier this year in terms of the 2024 and beyond network. So it is what we plan to move forward.
Thank you. That did answer my question.
Okay, anyone else have a question down there? How about on Zoom? Anyone have a question?
So I understand that we would contract for First Transit. It looks like about a third of what we're doing there. But Sound Transit contracts with us and then we recontract with First Transit. So I'm assuming in that shifting of dollars that we get some. I mean, to handle the contract, obviously it almost seems odd why they wouldn't just directly contract, right, to First Transit, but
there's some real advantage in allowing community transit to manage that contract in terms of we have the expertise operationally to manage it and have that long experience in the corridor. I would say Sound Transit has an operating agreement with community transit, and this expense in terms of the what we call the purchase transportation subcomponent of that is the largest single element of the bill that we give to Sound Transit. Another piece of it is fuel, which is billed separately outside of this contract cost. But we do assess what we call a fully allocated rate to Sound Transit for every hour of service that we operate for them. So it does capture the administrative expense of managing this contract.
so with First Transit, we're providing the buses, the fuel, the maintenance, just not basically the drivers. They're doing, and we do the scheduling as well.
We do provide the
Yeah,
schedule.
so really just contracting out the drivers.
Yeah, it's essentially it's the people component of it. What's needed every day to both operate, control the service in the field, dispatch it, supervise it, et cetera. That's what First Transit is providing on a daily basis.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Roland. I have to say that contracted services is the one area that I have had so much difficult understanding. And if I could ask you to please send me those slides, I will put it with the verbal stuff that was in our packets, and Rick can tell you, I keep bugging him because I just am having a difficult time understanding contracted services. So anyway, now we're down to approving this item. Can I get
I will move that the Board of Directors authorize the CEO to finalize negotiations and award contract number 2023-021 for contracted bus services to First Transit Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $366 million over the initial 3-year contract period and a 1 3-year renewal option.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it passes. Thank you, Roland. Okay, we're down to the chair's report. So board members, this is the time of year that the CEO annual evaluation is conducted. For those in person today, please see the materials at your seat. They're in a brown envelope. An email will route to the full board with the same materials. So all of you on Zoom will be getting them on, not just on your computers, but Rachel will be sending out hard copies too. An executive session on this topic is scheduled for the December board meeting, and please submit any questions to Mary Albert on the 2024 budget by November 10th. I am going to intervene in here and really request of the board, when you get the packet, please read all of it, not just the first part that Rick has put. And I don't mean don't read that, because that's the most important thing, but please read the rest of it. They have gone into detail on what all the company has done. And even when I went back and looked at last year's, and to be honest, I remember reading Rick's part. I don't remember reading the second. When I read it this year, there was things that I had actually forgotten that we had done. And so it's really helpful, I think, for the board to go back through and look at what has happened, because if you weren't at a board meeting, you might have missed something. And especially if you were gone a couple of weeks and things have happened, you don't hear everything. And that report has everything in it. So please, please take the time. And that's why you've got a written copy, so that if you get halfway done and something happens, your dog comes up or your kid comes up, you can put it aside and come back to it later. But I really, really encourage you to do that. And the survey is due by the 13th of November. And then the executive committee will discuss it on November 16th. And we're down to everybody else. If they have any comments, we'll start with Kim.
No, not today.
Okay, Mayor Fritzell.
I'd love to just say how much I appreciate the drivers, the coach drivers that take such good care of our buses, our passengers. I continue to hear great comments from regular bus people. And I had the opportunity this last week to use the buses as well. And I just wanted to also thank Rich Link for the baby duck rescue, and I know who to call the next time. So hopefully he's still listening. I just appreciate that this board takes time to recognize people that have been there year in and year out for 20 years, and they've moved up through the organization. I'm sorry, it's not about what we do in the boardroom. It's about how the product goes out to the community, how the service goes out to the community, and they have confidence in what we do. And it's because of the great employees that we have. So hats off to Rich and to Kelly today.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Mayor Marine.
Yeah, no, just kudos to staff.
Okay, Tom Merrill.
Rick mentioned earlier that I went to the training center, and I talked about that earlier in another session, but it was a great deal of fun really to see how excited people were to have their own training facility and the advantage that it gives us. It was also affirming to go and see the changes at Merrill Creek and to get the review today of the SWIFT program. It's just, there's a lot of things going on and it's going well, and it's just a privilege to be associated with that. So kudos to everyone. Thank you.
Mayor Nearing.
Yeah, I just wanted to thanks in regards to the first presentation. We had a really nice meeting with community transit staff on the Gold Line, and just appreciate the collaborative way that they're working with staffs and all the surrounding communities as we put this network together. It's very exciting to see it coming together. Thank you.
Okay, Labor Representative Norton. anyone hear him? Okay. Um,
Maybe prompt him again.
okay, Mr. Norton, are you there?
There he goes.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, I had it the wrong way. Interesting meeting is what I said, and thanks, everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
No comments today. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Gallagher, I know that you're here. Do you have anything? Okay. That. Oh, okay, Mayor Wright. Did you have anything?
No, I have nothing to add.
Okay, thank you. We had, no executive session, correct? Is there any other business?
Not from staff.
Okay. And not from the board, it looks like. So we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. And it didn't rain while we were here. Boy.